All right, everyone. So with Battlefield 6, the hype train, it's like a runaway hype train. And then the Black Ops 7 announcement, there's a lot of talk about what is the future of the Call of Duty franchise. So Charlie Intel posted this: Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is one of the first Call of Duty games to not top the PS5 pre order charts days after announcement. 3 days after reveal, Vault Edition pre order has currently peaked only at number 8, behind both editions of Battlefield. And so the image they shows Call of Duty at, it looks like, is that, no, it's at 8. Okay, it's at 8 with the Battlefield editions way above it, right? So Battlefield Phantom Edition, according to what they're having here, is number 3 and number 5. Now, this is a huge warning sign for Call of Duty. A lot of people speculated about what's going on with it, in terms of, is this finally going to be the game that people don't continue to just buy? And it very well could be, but I'm not going to speculate necessarily on that until we see the numbers. All I know is when you go back and you play Call of Duty 4, World at War, and then you play some of the newer games, because it's not that. The problem I have is that some of these newer games, like, even I could still get on and play Call of Duty, the normal online, and I have fun, right? There's no question about it. But the kind of draw that the World at War and the Call of Duty 4 and all of that had is just completely gone. Like, there was just something about those games that, even though they were made years and years ago, even though they were made with far less kind of advancements in technology and there was so much less you could do, they were far more addictive. And I do think it's really getting to a point where, when you talk about all these crossovers, they've they've made it so that Call of Duty doesn't really have any actual identity. Like, when you think of Call of Duty 4, there are so many missions in your head and just like kind of quotes from the game that you just think about, like maps and guns and, like I said, from the campaign. So many just awesome moments. When you think of World at War, you think of that opening scene. Like, what a way to just set the tone with an opening scene like they got in there. And you think about, and like I said, these games had 3 kill streaks. Okay, I haven't even brought up Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops and all this, where they start expanding out the kill streak tree. Like, these were standard games. Okay, these weren't games that had every bell and whistle and all of the stuff that we're accustomed to, and yet somehow they were better, and somehow they have a lasting memory. Whereas a lot of these new games, they just don't. It's like, was that, what game was that? Like, do you remember the weapons or the maps or some moment from a campaign? You just really don't. And it's quite shocking. And so I wanted to do this video just to give an update on this. To me, seems like kind of a start of something that could be a very bad news cycle for Call of Duty, right? Like, we already kind of have the bad news cycle, but this may continue, especially if sales don't do well. And if this really is the first game in which, we see like a huge, not just like in the narrative, but I'm talking like, oh my God, is Call of Duty in trouble? This might be that first game. Now, we don't know, could not be, but with Battlefield, and the frustrating thing too is that anybody that's a gamer, right, that has played these type of games for many, many years, especially those who are kind of veterans of Call of Duty 4 or Modern Warfare 2 or World at War, or any of those old Call of Duties, we all know that back in the day, Battlefield 3 was out, and you would play Battlefield 3 and you would play Call of Duty. You would play both because they were two separate games. They were not the same. Both can exist in this kind of same world. It's not a one or the other type deal. The problem is that Call of Duty has just completely given up on what it was. And that, to me, was the main takeaway, as we've talked about on this channel, of the Battlefield 6 beta. People talk about a lot of the concerns they have, and look, I get it. Okay, there are certainly concerns. But to me, when I was playing Battlefield 6, regardless of a concern here or a concern there, it felt like I was playing Battlefield again. And that's all I want, right? We like those games. We want to play those games. That's why it was so striking to play it, because it was just like, this rocks. On the flip side, when I put in Call of Duty, I go, am I playing Call of Duty? Like, is this the game I remember when I was a kid? Like, is this the same game? And it just doesn't feel like that. What actually is this thing? So I have no clue what's going to happen. All I know is Call of Duty, whoever's making it, depending on which year it is, they have to take a big look in the mirror and just say, we need to get back to that. And if we want any chance of ever succeeding, at the levels we used to, we have to take a look. And I'm not talking dollar and cents amount. I'm talking just people being excited for this game. Look, I get it. Warzone is super popular and people like Warzone, but Warzone is a separate game, basically, right? That's a completely different thing. If you want to have all the skins and people running around doing crazy stuff in Warzone, go ahead. But for the multiplayer, for that portion of it, make it how it used to be. And when I mean make it how it used to be, I mean make it as addicting. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.